So this is a little bit of an introduction to what a Greek play was like and what it would have looked like. So let's start by talking about the playing space. So remember, we're talking about an outdoor theater. It's an amphitheater, so it's roughly round. It's designed in such a way that you can hear someone at the bottom from everywhere in the theater. The first thing I'll draw your attention to is the theatron, which is the watching space. It's basically the seats where everybody is looking from. Next is the parados, which is basically the parade space. The chorus walks through the parados into the orchestra as they sing. It's the grand entrance. Right there you'll see the chorus, and they process into the orchestra from which all the rest of their music will be performed. Right in the center of the orchestra there you'll see the altar. It's the central part of the religious ritual. And behind the altar you see that big building called the Scena, from which we get the word scene. It's the building that serves as a backstage. It's also the only set that exists, no other fancy stuff. In front of the Scena is the proskenium, from which we get the word proscenium, and that is a platform on which the actors would speak. We're zooming in right now and we're looking at the Scena, that building. The top of the Scena is the place from which the gods would speak. It's roughly a stand-in for heaven, and there is the god right there. And on the proskenia, that's where earth basically is. That's where the actors would speak from, and that is perhaps the protagonist. And then in the front of the proskenia is the orchestra, and that is where the members of the chorus would stand, and there's our little blue friend who is a member of the chorus. There are two other objects on the stage that I'll draw your attention to. The first is that basket, which is attached to a machine. This is the process by which the gods would come down from heaven onto earth. This is also the thing from which we get the phrase a deus ex machina ending. It literally means a god from the machine ending. What happened in some not so great plays is that writers would create situations and problems that were so convoluted that there was no way to fix them except to have a god literally get into the basket, be lowered in the machine onto the stage, and then walk around and fix everybody's problems. But that was a part of many of the productions. It's BC special effects. And then the last thing to look at here is the ekiklema. It's basically a platform on wheels. It wasn't acceptable for any kind of violence to be shown on stage. It's okay to kill people, maim people, hang people, cut things off of people, but it is not okay to show that action on the stage. So what happened is a character would go off stage, there would be some kind of commotion, a messenger would come out and report what had happened off stage. So you can talk about violence, you just can't show it. The purpose that the ekiklema served was to present the body or the remains, it was usually a body, to the audience so that you could see that somebody was dead, but you couldn't present the death itself. So we've talked a little bit about what the physical space would have looked like. Let's talk a little bit about what the plays themselves would have looked like. When you're talking about the Greeks, you're talking about presentational drama as opposed to representational or representational drama, which is what we're used to in TV and films and theater today. What we're used to is facial expression, intonation, sad people cry, angry people yell. None of those things would have been possible for the Greeks. Among other things, they just didn't have the technology to make their voices loud enough to be heard if they were whispering. So what the Greeks did is what's known as presentational drama. So what does that mean? Not a lot of facial expression. Remember, they're wearing masks. No variance in intonation. Why is this important? It's important because that means that everything that happens is in the language. The action, the setting, the emotion, everything is exactly in the words that the actors are speaking. That's why the words are so important. The text of the play is also structured in a particular way. There's the parados. There's a series of odes and episodes, and then an exodus. The parados I referred to earlier, it's basically when the chorus parades in. It's the opening number. Then there's a series of odes and episodes. The ode is the song that the chorus sings, And the episode, which is a word meaning in addition to song, is the dialogue that follows it. The Exodus is just the final scene of the dialogue. Let's then talk about the structure of the ode. The ode is the chorus's response to or a foreshadowing of events in the play. It's divided into certain stanzas. The strophe is the opening, it's the first stanza. It's where some sort of problem or argument is presented. The antistrophe, this means to turn back. This makes things more complicated, muddies the issue, makes the way forward less clear. The epode is the after song. It's when the chorus comes back together for some sort of conclusion. It's thought that what would happen during these performances is part of the chorus that does the strophe would walk away, the part that does the antistrophe would walk away in the other direction, and then when they do the epode, they walk back together to a big group for the conclusion of the song and the ode. The dialogue is structured by what's called stichomythia. It's divided lines of dialogue. Basically, this lets the author write in verse like a poem, but to divide the lines between two speakers. So actually, without even reading the lines between Oedipus and Jocasta below, you can see visually how the lines get split up between two speakers, and that's just the way the dialogue runs in these kinds of plays. A final note is to remember the audience. Keep in mind that these plays were not meant to be read, they were meant to be performed. They're not meant to be experienced the way that we are experiencing it. So you have to kind of remind yourself all the time that these are people speaking and also that there's an audience here. Now you can't hear their responses, you have to imagine them. So as you read, think about what's funny, what's weird, when would they groan, when would they laugh, when would they yell things at the stage. And also keep in mind the emotional experience that you're supposed to be having. Are you experiencing pity and fear? When are you experiencing it? And how it's accomplished. So keep these things in mind as you approach Oedipus and enjoy.